So welcome to the Study Abroad Center's Getting Started with Study Abroad info session. So by being here today, you've all already taken the first steps towards beginning your global journey just by learning about study abroad and kind of orienting yourself already. So today we're going to be going over why you should study abroad, the different types of programs that are available to you, and how the academics and finances work on these programs. So first, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. So my name is Dana Lapsley. I'm an advisor here at the Study Abroad Center, and I advise for our regions in Asia and the United Kingdom, as well as Oceania. I studied abroad during my sophomore year of college in the United Kingdom. So I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself, Bonnie.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Hoos. I'm also one of the study abroad advisors in the office for outbound students. I'm an alum of UCI, been here for over 20 years, and I also studied abroad in Italy when I was a junior at UC Irvine. So I know where you're at and it's worth it. So go ahead, Ashley.
Great, thanks, Bonnie. My name is Ashley Arvanites, and I'm the lead advisor for inbound and custom programming here at the UCI Study Abroad Center. I also am a UC alum. I studied international studies at UC San Diego, and I had the opportunity to study abroad in Italy, Peru, Egypt, and Mexico. And I'm so excited to see all of you here. And we are very excited to support you as you explore these different types of program opportunities and support you as you pursue them.
Awesome. So today we do have a panel of students who have all gone abroad. And so I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. You can go ahead and start us off, Dahlia.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Dahlia Gomez. I am a fourth-year international studies major at UCI. I am in my fourth year, like I mentioned earlier, but I am also completing the honors thesis for my honors program. And I had the opportunity to study abroad in Korea, in Chile, and in the Netherlands, all through UCEAP. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited to share my experiences along with my other peers as well. I'll pass it on to whoever's next.
All right, Ariana, if you want to take us, introduce yourself next.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Ariana. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a double major in political science and Chicano Latino studies. I'm actually a transfer student, so this is my fifth year, but my third year at UCI. I studied abroad during my second year in fall of 2019, and I did one of the UCAP programs for Spain, in Granada, Spain.
Awesome. Thank you. And Nicole?
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a fourth year student at UCI right now, and I major in Korean literature and culture and minor in film and media studies. Like Dahlia, I am a campus-wide honors student, and I'm also working on my thesis. I had the opportunity to study abroad through UCEAP in Seoul, South Korea in summer and fall of 2019.
Great. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves. And we're going to get a chance to hear from each of them throughout the sections that we're going to talk about. Now we're going to focus a little bit on benefits of study abroad, why you should actually go abroad. We know there's a lot of competing interests and priorities here when you're a student at UC Irvine. So we want to definitely help persuade you to and encourage you to study abroad because there are so many benefits. We're just going to touch upon a few today. Under academics, for example, you can and will fulfill your degree requirements. That's one of the most important reasons why we promote international education. But not only that, you get to learn your major or take courses and learn from a whole new perspective. You might be in classes that are smaller than you're used to at UCI, or potentially just learning from a whole new style or approach of a subject. You get to take courses not offered at UCI. I know, as an example, we've had political science majors take some courses on the mafia in Italy, and they count towards graduation. That's pretty neat. They wouldn't be offered here at UCI. You get exposed to some top-ranked universities. And I'm actually going to turn to the panelists now and have them share a little bit about what they gained in terms of academics.
I can share first. As Bonnie mentioned, there are a lot of opportunities for you to take classes in very different teaching styles. And I personally had the chance to take classes that had really similar course names to classes I took at UCI, but they were actually very different in terms of what we studied and how we studied it. Because I am a Korean major, it was really interesting to see how Korean studies was studied in the US versus in Korea itself. And I really felt like I had my eyes open to this global perspective by having the chance to study in Korea. It was really interesting, and it did inspire me to actually work on a thesis related to that, which has to do with like American versus Korean perspectives on Korean media. So I really think that helped kickstart my academic journey and also feed into some of my personal interests as well.
Yeah, I'll go next. Thank you, Nicole, for sharing. I, for myself, really focused on my academics as well. And for me, I was able to take so many different courses that were not, again, like Nicole mentioned, that weren't really the same perspective I would have gotten had I just taken them at UCI. And one class in particular that I got to take that was not offered at UCI was actually Ethics and Contemporary Warfare. And I took that course in the Netherlands. And so I was able to petition to get credit for that course. But it definitely was a course that I had not seen in any of my course catalogs throughout the 4 years I've been here at UCI. So I'm very grateful for courses like that, just because they do really expand your understanding in one way or another. And I can pass it on to Ariana.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Dahlia. For me, I also took classes within my major. So I took one class that was in Spanish and one in English for political science specifically. And for both, there were very different perspectives that I got. For one of them, it was political communications. So there, it was more so focused on Spanish politics. And I got to learn a lot more about Spanish politics because I knew very little. And then here at UCI, I was able to also take a communications class. And the way that the different perspectives that each class had and the teaching style was very different, which I really appreciate now having been able to take that class. And for the other class that I took, it was international organizations. And I think that the reason why I was so appreciative of that particular class is the fact that there was a huge focus on an overall worldwide view versus focusing on a very US central point of view. And I was very appreciative of that.
Great, thank you so much for sharing. How about the category of personal benefits? There are so many things you gain personally when you have an opportunity overseas or a global experience of some sort. Greater independence, self-confidence, tolerance, flexibility, the list is endless. And you also get to make friends from all over the world, as well as from the other UC campuses that, many of our returnees have said become lifelong friends. So let me have the panelists again share a little bit about how the personal benefits that they gained from their opportunity abroad.
Yeah, I can share first again. I really am so grateful for all the personal benefits that I received while I was abroad. I feel like I did grow a lot as a person because prior to my study abroad, I was very shy and introverted, and I really had trouble meeting new people, making those new friends and connections. But studying abroad really fosters this environment where it's very friendly, very welcoming, and it really helps you interact with other people. And that environment really helped me be where I'm at today, because without that, I probably wouldn't even be speaking to all of you right now. So that was a really amazing opportunity for me. I also have always been the type of person to really rely on my parents. And I would always ask them, like, can you order my food for me? Or can you talk to the doctor for me? But when I was in Korea, my parents weren't there to always like do things for me or to always protect me or watch over my shoulder. And it was the first time that I really had to just do things on my own. And while it was really scary at first, I felt like without that, I wouldn't have grown as a person. And I'm really grateful for it because it did help me develop for future work experience and future just communicating with other people. So I really am grateful for all the independence and confidence that study abroad gave me.
Yeah, I'll go next. Beautifully said, Nicole. I agree. I was also a very shy person when I first started at UCI, and when I went abroad, I was put in different scenarios and situations where like I was no longer able to be shy. And if I did remain being shy, I missed out on so many opportunities to make friends or so many opportunities to learn different things or go to different events. So it really did push me to be like, I guess, my authentic self or create who I am today, I guess. I was able to, just expand and butterfly, I think, like leave my cocoon. But my favorite benefit of actually like going abroad was that I'm now culturally competent. So I may not know the language of the country that I'm visiting, but by watching and mimicking their mannerisms, I'm able to understand and communicate effectively and like interact with people all across the world. And that's something I don't think I would have gotten had I just stayed at UCI.
Thank you so much for that, Dahlia. I think I can agree with both of what Nicole and Dahlia said. I think I also consider myself to be quite a shy person. So again, studying abroad and being so far away from home really pushes you to get out of your comfort zone, to be more independent. And I think for me, it was something that I didn't know that it was something that I needed as much. So when transferring to UCI, I'm 2 hours away from home, and that's not that far. But being across the world in a whole other country was very different for me. And the fact that for my program, I didn't know anyone in my program. So just even like initially getting there was a whole experience in becoming friends with the people who were in my program, and then eventually venturing out to become friends with people in my classes and pushing myself to be part of other things on campus per se. And one of the things that I feel like helped me grow as a person was the fact that I was able to do an internship, which kind of goes into the professionalism aspect, because I was able to talk to a lot of people and interact with people in a different way and a different environment, which was something that I was not expecting.
I love that because all three of you mentioned you were shy, and look at you now, so well spoken, and I love it. So the next category, as Ariana mentioned a little bit already, is professional benefits. Now this is critical, right? Because you're going to college, you're attending UC Irvine because of your future, because you're trying to get into a career, become a professional. So studying abroad will only enhance your opportunities in the professional world. You're going to make connections all over the world. You make connections with faculty overseas. Imagine getting a letter of recommendation for your future grad school or job that comes from a foreign institution or a foreign faculty member. That's very impressive. You help yourself stand out in so many ways by studying abroad. You gain all sorts of new leadership skills or strengthen the ones that you already have. Many students also get clarity on their career goals. They go abroad and they discover some passion while they're there, or they discover something, or they discover maybe that they're in the wrong major and they come back and make a change. That happens a lot. And I want to hear a little bit about the professional benefits that the three panelists have gained thus far.
Yeah, to be honest, when I went abroad, I didn't intentionally try to develop myself professionally, but unknowingly, I was able to actually benefit so much from my time abroad. It really did, as Bonnie said, solidify my career goals and my interest in global education and just being a part of higher education as well, because I am a peer advisor at the Study Abroad Center, and that's something that I really am passionate about and sharing my journey as well. Also, as a fourth year, I have been looking at like internships and job opportunities, and I noticed that almost all of the places that I'm interested in applying to ask me about my study abroad experience, and I thought that was really interesting. They put a lot of value into it, and it's something that's fun for me to share as well. So it's definitely something that has benefited my resume a lot, as Bonnie did mention. I wasn't able to do an internship during my time abroad, but I don't think that necessarily hurt my professional development in any way. As Bonnie said, it can only help you. And I was actually able to network a lot during my time abroad, just from the people in my program and with local students as well. And that is actually helping me towards my ultimate goal of going to grad school in Korea, possibly. And I really think that without those different networking opportunities and events that my host university did hold, I would still kind of be at like a standstill in what I want to do in the future. So it was really a great experience for me.
Great, thank you for sharing, Nicole. I actually did get to have an internship when I was studying abroad in Chile. I got to complete an internship for credit at NGO FEMA, and FEMA stands for Fiscalía del Medio Ambiente, or Environmental Prosecutors, a non-governmental organization that focused on amplifying the reach and understanding to the Chilean people on the environmental policies that the Chilean government promised to complete in international discussions, but had ultimately failed to complete back in Chile. This internship was in Spanish, so I got to also better my communication skills in Spanish. And over the course of 4 months, I completed over 140 hours interning with them as project intern. And there I learned to better my communication skills and my problem solving skills. I also learned to become flexible and adaptable with my schedule and with the projects I got to be a part of. Chile was also in a social crisis for the remainder of my time abroad. So I also had to figure out how to work my internship and my academics around that. So my flexibility skills have definitely improved a lot. And these skills are actually very important for one's career. And I constantly use them as a peer advisor at the Study Abroad Center. And I also got to experience if this career, if working for the environment was what I could see myself doing in the future. And while I do care for the environment, I can say that I don't really see myself working in that area, but it was definitely great to explore that career path while I was still an undergrad. And it's definitely an experience that I consider very often, not just because of the crisis, but just because of the many different things I got to learn and the community I was with at my internship.
And thank you, Dahlia, that was very well spoken and, very eloquently put. For me, I did do an internship with a school. So it was an internship with a program that I was doing, and you were required to do a seminar every single week and required to do 10 hours a week. And in doing so, that means you have to be very organized and schedule everything properly so that you're also being there for whatever school you were assigned to, and then for the teachers that you'd be working with. So I worked with 2 different teachers. I worked with one middle school teacher and then one high school teacher, and I would help in assisting with providing lessons and tutoring for English. And even though, yes, my internship was in English, I still had to really focus on my verbal skills in Spanish, which was something that I really wanted to work on. And in coming back to UCI, to the United States, I think one thing that really helped me is the fact that people saw that I had studied abroad. And because when I came back, I had 2 interviews lined up for job positions for the upcoming year. And one of them was to be an RA. And right now I am currently an RA. And for one of the houses that I'm an RA for, it's specifically focused for students who want to improve their Spanish speaking skills. And I think that that was a huge benefit, having studying abroad, that helped me get this job. And just being able to work here and then even in the internship really pushed me to think on whether or not the career path that I initially thought I was going to do was something that I still wanted to do, or if I wanted to more so focus on different avenues where I would focus with students and people, because I learned that that's just something that I really enjoy.
That's great. And it'll carry forward in the rest of your life. Trust me, even 10 years, 20 years down the line, when you're applying for new jobs or career shifts, your study abroad experience will always come up. Thank you so much, everybody. So the great thing about being at UCI, I know there's at least one person in our audience that was just accepted. So yay. The great thing is you have many, many study abroad options to choose from. And so it doesn't matter to us which option you choose. And we're going to talk more about these in detail coming up, each category, but it's just that there's so many options. You have opportunities for every major, every type of situation that you might find yourself in. Studying abroad is possible for most students that are at UC Irvine. I'll just read the categories off, and we are going to go into detail in a minute, but UCEAP is the most commonly known study abroad program right now. It's the UC Education Abroad program for all the UC campuses. So if you do that, you'd be with Davis students, Berkeley students, LA students, everybody. The next category, UCI programs. Those are programs made for, administered by UCI, staff, faculty, schools, here housed at UCI. Other UC programs, so Davis, LA, Berkeley, they also provide their own programs, but they're open to all of our students as well. And then basically anything else outside of the UC system, we call it an independent program. So you'd go through a private provider, directly abroad to a different university. We guide you through the processes for all of these. And just know that, again, it doesn't matter. We orient you and you will find something that meets your goals and needs. I think Ashley is going to go ahead now and go through the different categories in detail.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bonnie. As Bonnie mentioned, there are so many options for you, and we are here. We know that sometimes it can be really overwhelming. So we wanted to at least give you a little bit of background information in terms of what to expect in each different type of program. We're going to explain the different kind of options that are available. And then we're going to talk about some of the differences academically in terms of financial aid, scholarships, and the other important pieces that will ultimately go into your decision to determine which program is the best fit for you. So the first program that we're going to talk about is UCEAP. And so this is the UC system-wide program that's offered exclusively to any UC students at any UC campuses. So this program offers over 200 different types of unique programs in over 50 different countries. This includes academic programs where you could be taking courses in your major, minor, getting GE requirements or other graduation requirements, as well as language program. If you're interested in taking courses in another language or studying another language to improve your proficiency. As some of our panelists have mentioned, there's internship programs as well as research in a variety of different majors or schools. And there's also, beyond the actual in-person options, they do also offer virtual global experiences that don't require any physical travel, but will still allow you the opportunity to have a global experience. And so some of these UCEAP programs, you're going to be enrolling in a university, you're going to be taking courses with students from that university. There's also even program options where you're going to be taking courses just with other UC students, but you're doing this in a different location. So there's a huge range of different program options available through UCEAP. So that's a really great place to get started. The next program type that I'm going to touch on a little bit are the UCI programs. So those are the programs that are designed specifically for UCI students, and they're led by UCI faculty, staff, or departments. So these ones, it's usually a little bit of a smaller number of programs, but in general, these programs are offering courses straight from the UCI catalog led by those departments. So you know exactly what you're going to be getting credit for because it's the same type of courses that you would be taking on campus. The next type of program are the other UC program. As Bonnie mentioned, these are hosted by the other UC campuses. And so they're led by UC faculty and they're open to all UC students. And a great thing about this is because you are a UC student, you would pay that same UC tuition rate and you have access to these programs. So there's a number of different campuses, including UCLA, UC San Diego, UC Berkeley, UC Santa Cruz, UC Davis, that all offer programs that are open to UCI students. And so again, this is another really exciting opportunity for you to take academic courses, language classes, to do internships and research in a variety of majors. And again, those are both options in person and virtual. And some of those are in the summer, other ones are during the academic year. So there's a lot of really great options. And it's another way that maybe you get to work with a faculty at another UC school where they have a different expertise or specialization that you're particularly interested in. So that's another really great option. And then finally is our independent programs. So if you aren't able to see any that are aligned with you in terms of the other UC type programs that I've just mentioned, you can also participate in independent programs. So there's two main categories that our independent programs are going to fall into. In general, independent programs are offered by third-party providers or other universities that don't have official affiliation with the UC system. And so they have a lot of different options that may be unique and aligned with what you're looking towards. I personally participated in a UC San Diego program, so like a UCI program, and an independent program because there was something else that I wasn't able to find in the existing offerings within UC when I was studying abroad. So you can also consider doing a combination depending on the type of experiences that you want. But the first type of category that we're going to look at for these independent programs are programs that fall on a short list. So they're considered a short list because they have already been pre-approved for financial aid. So if you are a financial aid recipient, this is a really, really great place to start to see if any of those align with your particular goals. There are also options for direct enrollment through a university abroad. For example, if you're interested in attending Fudan University or Waseda University or the University of Hong Kong, if there's one specific institution, that is an option as well. There's also even some non-study options. So if you're not looking for academic credit, there are options where you can have these kind of global experiences that aren't tied to coursework. But one thing to keep in mind about those non-study options is that because there is no coursework, there isn't any sort of financial aid that's available for that. So if that is a factor for you, if you are a recipient of financial aid, just keep that in mind if you're looking at those non-study options. And I'm going to go ahead and transition over to Dana. So she's going to talk a little bit more about the academic and financial aid pieces, as these are going to vary depending on the different type of program.
Yes. So, obviously going abroad and, going to a new country and studying in a new country is so exciting, but we know that there are other pieces of it that you have to consider. So everyone is here to get their degree, to study here. And so obviously the academics piece of it is often a large component of what students are thinking about as they're choosing a program. So this session today is primarily touching on the different program types. So we're going to touch briefly on how the academics and the finances differ between these, but typically in the fall, we have more sessions that'll go more in depth on this. So you can always join us for one of those in the fall, and we can talk a little bit more, deeply about this. In terms of the academics, we have broken it down by the different programs, but in terms of UCEAP programs, typically you will receive UC credit, and those grades are going to go ahead and average into your UCI GPA. So when you get your transcript back, those grades are going to show up on your UCI transcript, and it'll just note that your courses were taken on a education abroad program. If you do choose to go with the option of the other UC program, those grades you receive will also be UC credit, and the grades will also average into the UCI GPA. So it's going to work very similarly to those UCEAP programs. Now it's going to differ a little bit when we get into independent programs. So for an independent program, you may receive transfer credit, and those grades are not actually going to transfer into your UCI GPA, but rather, you'll have a separate transcript that will be sent to UCI, and that's how you will receive that transfer credit. The credit that you receive on a program will be determined upon your return from your independent program. Something else to note is that if you do choose to do a non-study option independent program, you actually cannot receive credit for that. So these are all things that you want to consider as you're kind of thinking about the different types of program that you're interested in. And I would highly recommend for you to just kind of think through what your goals are and what best fits with those goals. That way you can choose the best program for you. So now we'll move into the financial piece. If we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So in terms of finances, financial aid is often a very important aspect of deciding on which study abroad program you want to go on. So we do have a very detailed chart on our website that includes information about financial aid for all of the different programs. So you can see a brief screenshot of that chart right there. And so I would highly recommend after this session to go check that out in detail. But ultimately what I want you to leave this session knowing is that some programs cost the same or even less than the cost of attending UCI. So overall, if you are able to study abroad, if you are able to study here at UCI, then you are able to study abroad in terms of finances. The financial aid can go with you and may adjust to the total cost of your program. So in addition to that, there's also a lot of different scholarships offered for all different types of programs. So we would highly recommend that you also check out the scholarship section of our website to kind of see which scholarships you may be eligible for based on which program you're interested in. So I want to take it back to our panelists and just kind of get your input on what the academics piece looked like for you and whether you received financial aid or any scholarships.
I can start again as this time. For academics, everything on my end actually flowed pretty smoothly, and I was able to find stuff for my major and my minor. since my minor is film and media, I wasn't really expecting to go abroad and find stuff for my minor. And I thought I would only take upper division classes for my major, but I actually was able to find a lot of film classes in Korea. And I think that really did help my academic growth as well, because the film industry there is very different from the American film industry. So as we mentioned earlier, like these different perspectives really can be academically enriching. When I did come back to UCI, I had to petition a couple of my classes to get credit for them, but the process was overall really easy. Basically, what happened was that my language classes didn't necessarily go the same way UCI language classes are, because it was semester versus like quarter system. But I was able to just talk with one of the language department heads here at UCI and was able to receive credit for it just by showing a syllabus and telling her about what I learned. So I was really glad that I could actually fulfill a lot of requirements abroad and I didn't have a huge headache doing it. In terms of finances, unfortunately, when I did go abroad, I didn't receive all the aid or scholarships that I was expecting. However, as Dana mentioned, there are a lot of programs that do have a cheaper cost than going to UCI. And the program that I went to personally, it actually was cheaper than my UCI tuition. So I was really grateful for that, because it was pretty affordable, even though I didn't receive as much as I was expecting. And there were always ways to get a little bit of extra pocket money from external scholarships as well. I literally went down the list and applied for everything I saw that I fit under. And I was able to get some from that too, even though I didn't get many of the big scholarships that I was banking on. One thing that also is really nice is that the cost of living in your host country might not be the same as the cost of living in the US. So if you are really concerned about finances and you're worried that your aid might not cover your whole trip, there are some countries and some programs that can be really affordable. Like for me, I was able to buy meals in Korea for about $2 and it was really nice to be able to save money on that end and still have the chance to travel and explore and take classes abroad.
Thank you, Nicole, for sharing. That was wonderfully put as well. And for myself, I was able to petition for my courses before I went abroad and even while I was abroad. So then by doing that, I was able to guarantee that the courses I took abroad, I was going to receive credit for. And so while abroad, I was able to complete both my East Asian regional focus and my issues and institutions functional focus for my international studies major, and a few general education requirements as well. And because all three of my programs were through UCEAP, I received credit for about 9 courses. And when I was studying abroad in Chile, I was able to complete my foreign language requirement of level 2C in Spanish, which is actually a requirement for my honors program. And so I was also able to complete that. And for the financial piece, I am a first generation college student and I'm very dependent on financial aid. So the program cost adjustments really help lessen the financial stress on myself and on my family. I also applied and received the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship, which actually helped me pay for all of my meals and travel expenses while I studied abroad in South Korea. I think every weekend I did go to someplace new throughout the country, and I even went to Japan for a few days. So that scholarship really helped me pay for all my adventures abroad in Korea, but also to learn so many new things from so many different places. However, my time in Chile and my time in the Netherlands were pricier due to unforeseen events that happened in both exchanges. I was abroad during a social crisis in Chile, and I stayed abroad in the Netherlands during the pandemic, during the early stages of the pandemic, just because I thought it would be safer for myself abroad. And so I took out some loans, and loans aren't really the most favored option for financing personal experiences. But I believe that both my time in Chile and in the Netherlands were worth going a bit into depth for. So I don't regret them just yet, but we'll see in the future if I do end up thinking otherwise. And I will pass it on to Ariana.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I think a lot of the things that Nicole and Dahlia said are things that apply to me as well. I think for my particular program that there was a set of pre-approved classes that you could choose from and that were offered at my university. So I did my best to choose classes from there. And then there was one class that was not on that list that I was later able to petition so that I could get credit for. And when you come back, there's a form that you fill out to petition for those classes to either receive credit or to see if that you're able to receive something for it. And in terms of financial aid, I'm also a first generation student. So I also heavily was dependent on financial aid. And my program was one of the cheaper options, at least in regards to the region and the length of the program, which for mine, it was only a semester. So I only really had to pay things out of pocket for my meals and like any extra excursions that I wanted to go to. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So now that we have heard a little bit from our panelists about their experience on their specific program in regards to academics and finances, you might be asking, what do I do next? How do I sign up for this? So let me have you go to the next slide, Ashley. So in terms of next steps, I would highly recommend that you all visit our website. So it's studyabroad.uci.edu. And in order to get started, I would recommend clicking on the Students tab in our navigation bar and selecting How to Study Abroad. From there, you're going to get access to this timeline that you can see featured on this slide. And this timeline is just going to give you a really good breakdown step-by-step of what you need to do to get started on your study abroad experience. Another option is to schedule an appointment. So we have staff advisors as well as peer advisors available to meet with you right now virtually via Zoom. So you can definitely go onto our Contact Us page and you can set up a one-on-one advising session with one of us, and we can kind of talk about your goals with you, kind of figure out what's going to be a best option for you and help you try to narrow that down. So if you want to go to the next slide, Ashley. So the first step in that timeline was to complete your UCI Abroad interest profile. So when you click that first step, it's going to take you to this page, and this is our platform called UCI Abroad. And once you complete that profile, you'll then be able to receive customized updates based on your preferences about different programs that are available abroad, as well as different scholarships you may be eligible for, different events that our office is hosting that might be valuable for you to attend, and lots of other things. So definitely go ahead and, as a first step today, go ahead and go in there and complete that interest profile. So that way you can start getting information on study abroad. And lastly, I just want to encourage all of you to follow us on all of our social media platforms. So we are very active on Instagram and Facebook, and we have a lot of educational resources on our YouTube channel. So if you want to hear other experiences from other students like you who've gone abroad, you can definitely check out those platforms. We also post a lot of our events that are coming up, as well as just valuable resources on there. So on all of those platforms, our handle is @UCI Abroad. So definitely give us a follow. We announce all of our stuff on there.